The category is What the Trans, darling?
Well, hello, and welcome to What the Trans.
What the trans, I missed the sun.
Yeah, it would be nice to have been able to get a bit of sunlight. Although, sorry to go all middle class on you, as I so often do, but I have a balcony, and so I was sat out in the sun earlier on, looking at everybody else doing the same. I've honestly never seen so many people using their balconies all at once. It's really weird. But yes, welcome to a lockdown special of What the Trans. As you have almost certainly heard about in the news, the coronavirus pandemic has resulted in the government issuing quite strict restrictions as to life in the UK. So there's restrictions on gatherings outside between, a certain number of people who don't live together. Essential workers only, still at work, so people in like the NHS and whatever else. Everybody else is being told to stay at home and try not to spread the virus to other people, really. So, yes, welcome to quarantine. Like proper countrywide quarantine, which is fun, isn't it? May you live in interesting times indeed. How are you getting on, Michelle?
Well, that is a complicated question, because I remember a few weeks back we were mooting the idea of this summer travelling to a lot of smaller prides and covering the prides that don't get a lot of mention and coverage in the media. That's not happening because all prides are cancelled, and I mean, it just sucks, right? This is just like a terrible thing that hasn't even really got started yet. So yeah. I'm not going to mince my words. It's just shit. I don't know how else to sell it.
Yeah.
It's just shit, Ashley.
It is just a bit rubbish. I mean, as we'll get onto in a bit, I'm sure not absolutely everything about this is completely trash fire apocalypse shitty end of the world. But there's definitely a note of that in there, and a lot of people are scared, anxious, worried, confused. Which to me, I mean, are you kidding? I can knock that out between getting out of bed and getting to the kitchen. But apparently for all the normal cis straight people who haven't had to kind of deal with levels of anxiety about going outside, for example, apparently it's been quite difficult. So.
That is true. Like I've seen people, like I mentioned this in the upcoming segment we're going to do, but I see people adapting my lifestyle of staying in a lot and eating pasta. And they don't like it, Ashley. They really don't like it.
They don't like it up 'em. No, they don't like it when they have to do it. They're quite happy when other people in society who don't have as much money as them, they're quite all right with that. But as soon as they have to do it, then it becomes a problem and something must be done. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice to see them finally notice that the benefits or welfare, as it may be called in other countries, the rates for those aren't particularly great. And people are like, this is a scandal. Yeah, did you know the disability payments are so low? And it's like, yes, we did.
Yes, we did know that. We've actually been trying to
We've been saying so for the last 10 years.
Yes, quite. So, yes, I mean, as you say, we did a wonderful interview with some splendid people, which will be the meat of the show, and I look forward to hearing that when it's done. But, we've kind of done things slightly differently for this particular episode, I would say, simply because there hasn't really been very much else happening in the news. It's all been about this, and so lots of people have talked about like community and, well, actually things have changed, and if the change stays like this, it'll actually be better, even if we do, is going back to normal, as it were. Is that really what we want? Can we try and use this as an opportunity to make change? So there's all sorts of the discourse surrounding this already, and, great. But for us, it's because it is affecting us all, literally all of us, quite specifically in the way that most of us are able to live our lives. This is a moment in time. This is history being made, played out right before our eyes. Obviously, literally every other moment in time is that as well, but people will remember this bit, I suspect. This bit's going to be in the history books, assuming civilizations survives long enough for there to be books about it. Anyway,
let's not get that dark quite yet. I think the humanity is going to survive in some form.
Indeed.
Humanity is going to come out of this century in some way. I don't think I'm not going to be around to see it, but I think it'll be a sight to see, whatever form it takes.
Definitely. God, can you imagine being alive for that long? It would be so boring. I was like, well, I've done it all now. Anyway, I think let's crack on.
Yes.
So one thing we thought would be quite helpful is community, right? We're all going to be slightly isolated. But the trans community is actually quite good at building pockets of community in slightly surprising places. And obviously the internet's an amazing thing for that as well. So basically this is a long-winded way of me telling you that we have a Discord. There is a What the Trans Discord. It's intended as a space for trans, non-binary, and intersex people to be able to, I guess, just be and chat. And thus far, a lot of it has been sharing memes and talking about roleplay games, which I'm totally on board for. So yes, do come and join us, particularly if you're stuck at home a lot and starting to feel a little bit lonely. I know many of us have. There's connections to be made right there, and people have shared some wonderful artwork and music that they've done, and tips and ideas, and it's lovely, and I'm very glad we started it. And so yeah, check that out, link in the description.
Yep, it is fully moderated most of the time, and it has a vetting process. It has an application process. If you click on the invite link in the description, it'll take you to the Discord server itself. Make sure you're logged in when you do it. Then click on the Google form, fill that in. We don't keep any of your data longer than we have to. We verify who you are, you get in. No bullshit, no TERFs, no Kiwi farmers. Our vetting process has been described as annoying. So I think that's a good sign that the server is very, very safe.
I mean, we wanted it to be robust, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted it to be a place definitely where people could come and not be worried about, who's looking in, and also making sure that no cisgender people are in there, because any cisgender people happen to be listening, we love you. We do. It's just one of those things where I think you may not understand how important it is to be around people like you, because you get to do it all the time.
Mm.
Whereas trans people don't tend to unless they are at a specific Pride, and Prides are not going to happen this year. They're just not happening. So that's why the rule is in place. I hope you don't take it personally. You can chat to us on Twitter and other public places like that if you like. But yeah, this Discord is just for the trans, the intersex, the non-binary, the gender non-conforming, the gender variant in some way. But moving on to the next thing that I think is very important. And I know that this is going to come out as very, very strange, because our NHS in the UK has been underfunded for a decade. And there's going to be a few of you that are saying that everyone who chips in at this point should get paid. And I see what you're saying. But the deal is, we didn't destroy the NHS, but we have a chance to help people, like actual people. And the government's put out a call for volunteers. It is called the NHS Volunteer Responders Service, and has been set up to support the NHS during the COVID-19 outbreak. I'm reading this directly from the website. To do this, we need a quote-unquote army. I fucking hate that they keep...
I know, right? Why
comparing this to a war? I fucking hate it.
Why go militaristic? This is about compassion and looking after each other, not about... Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and this implies that this is something that we can win. This is something that we endure, not win. But anyway, we need an army of volunteers who can support the 1.5 million people in England who are at most risk from the virus to stay well. Our doctors, nurses, and other professionals will be able to refer people into the NHS volunteer responders and be confident that they have been matched with a reliable named volunteer. Volunteers must be 18 or over and fit and well with no symptoms. Those in higher risk groups, including those over 70, those who are pregnant or with underlying medical conditions, will be able to offer support by telephone. And they have 4 roles. They have a community response volunteer who collects shopping, medication for people who can't get out of the house. Patient transport volunteer, someone who ferries patients to and from hospital. NHS transport volunteer, someone who transports equipment, supplies and other medication. And a check-in and chat volunteer, someone who basically does short-term telephone support to individuals who are at risk of loneliness. And that is the one I myself have signed up for, as I can't drive. And I have certain disabilities that mean the other options aren't necessarily... I wouldn't be able to do a good enough job on those, but I have signed up to be a phone person. I highly encourage you to do the same. The link is in the description. Go there and sign up if you are able. Not only because it is the right thing to do, but it's also a chance to show the UK that trans people aren't some abstract danger to the social order, that we are people who are willing to do the right thing in times of hardship. So I thoroughly encourage you to do that. And I know that some of you will be thinking, this isn't paid. Why are we bailing out the NHS when there's been cut to ribbons? And I'll be the first to say that I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'll be the second.
Yes, but the fight for the NHS has to happen once this episode in our history is over, and I have a feeling that it's going to be a battle that we will have more ammunition to win. But that's not the time now. There are people that need help now, and this is a chance to go and do it. So go do the good thing.
Indeed, if you're able to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you're able physically and mentally and all of that stuff. If you are, don't put yourself in any more danger than you have to.
Like, I see exactly what you're saying about, like, it's a bit rich of the government to now say, hey, come and be a volunteer, and they want this quote-unquote army of volunteers, and it's there's a bunch of stuff to be said about it, but actually I think under the circumstances it does seem like it is objectively a good thing to do, given that actually people can be relied upon to care about each other even if the British government can't. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, we aren't doing any terrible news this time because the news is already pretty fucking terrible, and you all know what it is. So we decided to do a big fat meet.
Yes!
Where we talk to a few wonderful, wonderful trans and non-binary people to basically check in and see if how they're doing, see if they're okay, and just a general chat about what's been going on.
Yes. So we thought we would gather a crack team of lovely people to start with, starting with Ica Nienz, who is a trans theatre designer and facilitator, who is currently passing quarantine time with a Titanic jigsaw. Unsure if that's a jigsaw that is massive or if it's a jigsaw of the Titanic, I don't know. And setting up, and this is really exciting, the Isolation Collective, which is a way for artists to survive and thrive through these times. There'll be more details about that in the interview itself.
Yeah, and joining us as well was Sabah Choudrey. Sabah is a transgender Muslim and reluctant activist on most things queer, brown and hairy. Those were in their words. I did not add that last part, I should say. They co-founded Pride Brighton in 2013. And they're a proud trans youth worker and have been since 2014. They're a writer, public speaker, and psychotherapist in training.
And we also had Kate Glanfield, who is a parent, and she's a co-founder of Trans Gloucester, and she's also a trustee for Sparkle, which is the transgender charity and event that happens here in Manchester every year.
Yeah, I mean, I was very, very happy and astonished at the people we managed to get a hold of for this one, because all three of these people are incredible in so many different ways. They serve the community, and thanks for coming on, people. It was a really good chat, and yeah, maybe we should get to it. What do you say, Ashley? Should we play the tape thing?
Let's play the tape.
So shit be fucked up, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, shit is fucked up and stuff. So how are we all coping with this? Like, what's happening out there in Quarantown?
Yeah, doing all right. Video games.
Well, I'm in sunny Manchester, and it really was sunny today, which is just taking the piss now as well. The weather's been glorious, and it's like, no, you must stay inside. I was like, oh, god damn it. But, oh well.
I'm in London. I'm still in London. I think I'm basically stuck here for the foreseeable, because I could be a vector of disease if I ever, leave. I could start an outbreak. Which isn't great. Ica, where are you?
I'm in Nottingham. Usually I'm in London, but I've come to my mum's house. I escaped the lockdown. I just got really scared that I was going to be like in the house share that I'm in, and everyone's left, and I was like, I don't want to be here on my own. So I was like, jumped on a train just before all the stuff got announced about lockdowns. Basically,
you got the last train out of town.
Basically, yeah, and it wasn't busy.
Nice.
It was quite a nice train. Quite a pleasant one.
Kate, where are you?
Gloucester! I announced that really loudly, didn't I? I'm in Gloucester. I'm not actually proud to be in Gloucester.
Yeah.
It was just an involuntary response. I am in the Shire.
Ah, yes.
Nice.
Sabah, what about you? Where are you?
I am in West London and the outskirts in Hounslow.
Oh, okay, what's that like? Because I'm in Zone 3, I'm in Streatham, and it depends where you go in Streatham, but some parts of it are totally normal, like it's 2019, and some parts of it are just like, oh, this is happening. Oh, God, I'm going to buy all the melons now.
Melons.
I don't know what people are panic buying. I mean, the problem with me is that I've been on disabled benefits for about 4 years now, and the rest of the country has suddenly decided to buy all of my staples.
Yeah.
Like, I've been living on pasta, I've been living on tins for 4 years, and now suddenly it's like, oh, everyone's living like me now. And they're really complaining about it. Like, they really seem to think that my lifestyle is thoroughly unbearable.
And like, as I've mentioned before, like, you know, not to brag or anything, but like I've been kind of on quarantine / self-isolation for months, and nothing to do with there being a pandemic and everything to do with not having a job and not being able to afford to go places and do stuff. So it's kind of like everyone's like, oh God, what do you do all day? You know, how do you deal with all the wanking? And it's like, well, you have to make it into a reward system. Yeah, absolutely.
So how much has your life changed since all of this began? Because I think a lot of people listening will have seen very, very massive changes, and not many of the changes will be good. What's been going on with your life? How has this nonsense affected you?
I think, seeing the maths problems we were giving at school kids now becoming reality. You know, before we were laughing at people going, why would Jane be buying 400 toilet rolls? All of a sudden they're like, Jane's bought 400 toilet rolls and Terry's only got 2. And you're like, wow, it's like a premonition from year 7.
God, I'm so sorry, Terry.
Is that a maths lesson or a philosophy lesson? Politics, rather. Like, so Jane has bought 400 toilet rolls, but Sam has only got 2. Should Sam A, drive to another store, or B, expropriate some of Jane's toilet rolls in the name of the revolution?
B.
Sabah, what about you? Have you seen any major differences in your life so far, apart from obviously being housebound?
Well, I was caring for my dad for a few years, for maybe 4 or 5 years, and as his needs increased, I guess I just was doing less and looking after him at home. So, he passed away in February. So actually, things have been pretty different. It's like I haven't really noticed this kind of happen, the pandemic start, because I was at home a lot. I didn't have many other responsibilities and commitments, which was just my dad. So it's been a really weird and difficult year for me for loads of reasons. So I was still trying to find my feet when the outbreak happened. But I guess in some aspects, it's been pretty easy because I wasn't working very much. I was just doing youth work part-time, and that's all gone online. And my other kind of speaking gigs and arrangements got cancelled anyway. So it's just really been, I've really had to just look at myself, focus on myself, look after myself, and build a routine like from scratch. Because I hadn't had one. It was just me and my dad for a long time. So yeah, it's just been a really weird time.
Yeah, I can stand. There's stuff going on there that's, not related to the stuff that's affecting the rest of the country, of course, and that must have been really hard. But I get what you mean about like kind of having to build a routine and kind of having to, because a lot of people around at the moment are saying they've kind of had to rewrite their whole work day. As you say, a lot of places have gone completely remote.
Yeah.
I know the LGBT Foundation in Manchester, their office is closed and shuttered and everybody's working remotely now. But they're still trying to offer all of the same sort of services, either on Skype or just lots of volunteers ploughing through the contact requests and all that sort of thing. So, which has been kind of cool to see that happen, to see that change take place, but it was also everybody was doing it, and it was a bit of a mad scramble over several days as increasingly bleak news about the virus came trickling in and restrictions. So it's all been a bit lots of people are very anxious at the moment. So
I mean, as Michelle knows, I run a social group in Gloucester. We have about 82 meets a year or more than that. And it's very much a social orientated thing. And it's not a support group. We encourage peer support. But we are finding that so many people are reaching out because they're feeling isolated, even more so than before. And without those meetups and those face-to-faces, which for some people was the only time they'd really mix with other people, was when they'd come to the groups. And the real sense of isolation and change in routine is definitely there, and it's definitely visible and being felt throughout the whole community.
Yeah, I was chatting actually to one of my mates about it yesterday, because usually I work from home in London, doing theatre design work and things. So I'm quite used to being in the house, but then it was that sudden fear that I had of wanting to be on my own, and I was like, I don't think I can do that. I haven't done that for a while now. So for me, I guess I combat that by running to my mum's house, which has helped. But I know a lot of people who have done the same as me. All my housemates have done the same. I guess it's lucky if you're able to do that. Who just gone back to their rent's house and isolated there, because the fear of being on your own in a place like London, where everything seems to be happening quicker than the rest of the country. I don't know if that's true.
I think the rates here are a lot higher right now, but I don't imagine that's going to be the case always. I think it's probably going to span out from the cities, so I can imagine in a couple of months it's probably going to be in every town. Well, I really brought the mood of the room down. It just fucking sucks, right? I don't know how else to put it. It just fucking sucks. There's no real upsides. I keep seeing really ghoulish fucking people on Twitter just going oh, maybe our generation will finally be able to buy a house. And it's fuck that noise. I'd rather my mum be alive for another 20 years and have a house. You know what I mean? I don't... there's no upsides to this shit. So I'm sorry if I do... bum out the room, but I don't know how else to avoid it at this point. It's just fucked.
Yeah, I've had that where I've had to actively tell myself to not search COVID-19 or whatever on Twitter. I've had to just stop myself from doing it. In fact, I've kind of tried to Twitter completely, which is hard because freelance job I've been doing has been doing website stuff and social media stuff. So it's then as soon as I go onto it, it's right there, and I'm I just don't want to be seeing it. It's it's difficult to know whether to switch yourself off from the news completely and just get the bits that you want to do. What's everyone else doing? Doing?
I mean, with Twitter, I've still not put it on my new phone, basically. So I've not been using Twitter over the last few weeks, and I've got to tell you, my mental health has improved. So read into that what you will. But I've been I've been looking at the announcements because it kind of feels like I need to look at the announcements. But I posted about this on social media. There's so many pulp novels from the 50s and the 60s where there's one fairly average person who, through whatever reason, kind of witnesses the end of things, and but it's a very small, self-contained story, and it's usually told from kind of within one room, like a one-act play, and it just kind of feels like that. So I've not got a job, I've not been leaving the house, I'm largely not encouraged to leave the house, kind of thing, currently, as we all are, and it's just... If I spend too long looking at the news, it genuinely does feel like one of those pulp stories, where I've just got this kind of window into the world that's taking place, but I'm just still sat in the same place that I have been for the last few months, and it's weird, it just kind of feels like...
I actually had to leave the house today to go and pick up heart medication. I've never had it before, and so I had to go and pick it up today because I've been having issues with my chest. And that was horrible. The anxiety of building up to actually leaving the house. I've been redundant since October. I've only left the house to run groups and take my son out places, and I've not seen him for 2 weeks. And in leaving the house, what struck me is seeing like people take their kids into the play park still. That yeah, it's hard enough, having to put yourself through that without thinking, well, should I be screaming at that person for throwing their kid down a slide? And which you don't want to shout at a parent in front of their children, but at the same time, I'm half tempted to go in the garage and sneak out and lock all the play parks up tonight because people just can't help themselves.
They actually have done that in Nottingham. I went past one today, and I say they've closed them. They've put like the hazard tape, the like red and yellow fat around them. I'm not sure like how much that will keep people out, but they seem to be taking that one a little seriously. I know what you're saying. I find it difficult to judge on what other people are doing, whether like I'm doing the right thing, and it's kind of like, well, I'm trying just to go out once a day and do the old like exercisey walkie or something. But then in my head, I'm still like, oh, I would like to look at the sun a little bit more.
Yeah.
So hard,
Like, how dare the weather do this to us? How dare it now?
Last time I went out was last Thursday at time of recording, so a week ago, essentially.
Gosh.
Before that was another week because I was in isolation because I had a cold, and it was actually a cold, but who knows?
Yes.
But I had to go out because I had to get meds and I had to get food, and it was my last chance before I knew something big was going to happen over the weekend. So I thought, this is going to be my last chance, and this is going to be the best chance of me going out and not picking it up. And I saw not one but 2 groups of lads just sharing a spliff, like nothing was happening. And the second group, I actually lost it because I was so anxious and so, I don't know, from walking around for like, I walked around for 2 hours to go to all of like the corner shops and stuff because those are the only places that had food. And I was just so exhausted and so tired and so freaked out. I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? You shouldn't be sharing that now. You should be at least having one each. And they laughed because they saw like this green-haired trans woman just like freaking out. They thought I was joking. Like they could have been passing around Convid on their spliff, like for all I know. And it made me so fucking angry and scared all at the same time. So I basically went home, shut the door, and I haven't left since. And I don't plan on leaving anytime soon unless I absolutely have to, because not just to protect myself from the virus, but to protect myself from people who don't know what the fuck they're doing.
It's so hard because you just see how much people just don't care and they don't get it. And I just think on this is affecting us on so many levels, from like us as individuals to like communities to families to like nations, to like it's a global thing. And what would it take for people to get that people are dying and we need to stop it? Like we have to. And this is literally the one thing that's going to bind everyone together no matter what, because it can affect all of us. It will affect all of us. This virus doesn't discriminate. There's no bias there. It's just like, it's like unbearable sometimes. One of
my mates who I work with occasionally as well. This is really deep as well. They posted that their granddad passed away recently. They had like an ongoing lung thing going on, but also like they'd gotten COVID, and they were literally putting out this plea on Facebook that was like, just please don't leave. Like you just don't know, and. Like, that was the thing that suddenly I was like, damn, this is real. Like, it's not me just watching on the news. It's not, I don't know, somebody just being like, oh, wash your hands, or like, whatever. Like, this is, it's a bit close now, which is a little bit scary.
I think that's a good point to do a song.
So, under the circumstances, here is a lovely song from Maddie Tourmaline, who is based in Wisconsin, and sent us this song over Twitter. It's from the SoundCloud, and this song with the title, which is a little bit on the nose perhaps, but this is a lovely little song called The Burning Wasteland.
Tie up your heart and remember your soul. Dig with your feet, with your hands in a hole in the burning wasteland. March to the drums of the heart in your ears. Lay down your cares and lay down Don't forget to breathe. Know what you believe. Take the time to grieve. Listen to the sun. Beautiful and fun is more than what's been done. Rolling the dust and decline to despair. Dance like the wind through the smoke in the air in the burning wasteland. Make up the way you're supposed to behave. Lift up the life that still thrives in the shade of the burning wasteland. Many days have passed. Nothing bad will last. We will live and die. Listen to the waves. There's no need to be brave. Just dance above your grave. Love the life you save. Do what you can and become who you are. You are a leaf that was made from a star in the burning wasteland.
So, yeah, that was nice. What do we all think?
I tried Googling it and I came up with some like French school, and I was like, well, this isn't it. It can't be.
What, called the Burning Wasteland?
No. It's a bit on the nose.
That's their slogan. It's a bit on the nose.
Just don't touch your face.
Oh, keep it in, I say. Right. Yeah, I mean, how do you pick back up after that, didn't it? It was, we were having quite a spirited yet also slightly depressing conversation, and then we played a song called The Burning Wasteland. Can we pull it back from now? Why, let's find out.
See, as a big fan of the Fallout series, I just, I'm disappointed by everyone's like wasteland outfits.
They're so depressing, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just like pajamas. That is not what I thought the end of the world would look like. I was expecting bits of tire, wrapped around my shoulders, maybe a bit of leather, or a vegan alternative.
It's a very, very this world thing for even the apocalypse to be disappointing.
I know, right? And I also can't. I played too many video games. I can't shake the feeling that I'm supposed to be going around Manchester leaving a load of audio recordings for the player character to find. And
I think that's what this podcast is, Ashley.
Oh crap!
That's why you got us here.
Yeah, this is all just exposition. Don't worry.
I don't want to be a side character.
No, I know, right? Although there was an image from, I forget, I went looking for it yesterday and I couldn't find it. It was a ferry terminal on one of the Great Lakes in America, so in Michigan or Illinois or whatever. And so there was a closed ferry terminal with a stack of newspapers on one of the benches next to it saying ferry terminals to close. And it's just like, that is such a perfect sort of Silent Hill type moment, isn't it? Just seeing that completely abandoned space and the newspaper explaining that this place is closed. It was really good game design. I appreciate it. Oh, it was real life crap.
So how has everyone here been filling the time? I mean, I've been pretty busy. Me and Ashley have both been pretty busy, setting up a Discord server and trying to...
Oh, that's been crazy.
Yeah, we've been trying to, sort of adapt our brand into a pandemic world. So we've been pretty busy. But what have you lot been doing?
Actually, the one nice positive thing about this is that me and my housemate for a while have been wanting to start up an art collective group, but just never had the time. We've always had work on and stuff, and that's one thing that this pandemic has allowed us to do, is actually have the time to do that, which is really nice. And it's isolation. It's called the Isolation Collective. Maybe it's got some underscores in it on the old Instagrams. And basically, we're sharing people's artwork. People send us in their artwork that they've made that's kind of isolation related, and we kind of want to do at the end of this some kind of actual physical in real life exhibition without masks, maybe.
Cool.
If we
Yeah.
can.
If
Something
we're
like
allowed
that.
to.
And we'll have links in the description for that,
Yeah.
if Ica will let us.
I absolutely endorse that idea.
I was just thinking, like, oh, okay, so does this mean it's finally time for me to screen print up a t-shirt that says, I survived a global pandemic and all I got was this handmade t-shirt?
Oh my god, I love it.
Do it and send it to us. That is amazing.
If you could wrap the pod up in it and hide it for people to find later after the pandemic, that'd be great. You know, a tie-in with your hidden messages.
Oh yeah, got to make sure the player character finds it, right? So, has Kate and Sabah? I don't think how are you guys filling your time?
Lots of video games. Trying to make Trans Gloucester more accessible online. We had a Discord already, and we had a private Facebook group. It's just trying to get those things a bit more active, and also try and keep the spirit of the group that we've been doing. 'Cause, you know, we used to meet up and have board games. We've had D&D groups in the past, and Mina, one of our amazing admins, is working hard on trying to make D&D something that people can be playing wherever they are, and perhaps not be so alone, because that could be quite immersive and good fun. So, you know, it's trying to get these things off the ground, but also trying to make sure that we keep the same kind of security that we have with the group, and, you know, check in on people. I mean, you know, try and keep yourself busy. It's like I said, I've not seen my son for 2 weeks, so that's been quite hard. So, you know, depression's a really tough one to kick. But it's finding different things. You know, me and my partner have each other, and we keep each other safe. But I mean, just before this pod, I was in the garden spray painting a tomahawk. Well, not actually a tomahawk. It's a like a practice weapon. You know, like the ones used in martial arts.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
So yeah,
I was nodding along as if I was like, yeah. And you were like, you know, like one of them, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure.
I'm spraying it up in trans colours because I'm like, well, that'd look quite nice on my wall. You know,
That'd be great in the apocalypse, to be
well,
honest.
I've got to have my custom weapon.
Absolutely.
Not that I would, of course, endorse violence.
It gives +2 to fabulous.
You can endorse violence here. Like almost every episode, Ashley like advocates for violent revolution.
No,
so I think you're fine.
don't. It's not every other episode. It's at least every 4 of.
And now we're making weapons.
Well, now more than ever, we do need to start composting the rich.
Absolutely.
Oh, that fucking Weatherspoons guy. Are you kidding? Oh my god.
Him. Just for completeness, Sabah, what's your lockdown routine look like?
Oh my god, like lots of flapping and fapping and flailing. It's really hard because I think there's such a pressure for us people to do something and be creative and be productive. But like fuck that, like
look like you're doing stuff, right?
Yeah, like I've spent so many days just doing nothing. You know, I've just like gone for a quick run in the morning, and I've managed to eat 3 times a day, and that's been enough. Like, I don't know. And everything is changing all the time. Like, everything is so uncertain. So like, it's been really hard to even just build a routine. I think every day is like just a trial and error for me. Like, can I set myself this task to do this big thing? Oh no, I can't. Okay, next day let's try and do this small thing instead. So I've been avoiding, after like binging in the news, I've been like totally avoiding it, because I feel like we know everything now. Like the numbers aren't going to help me, and the rates and stuff. I feel like, okay, I'm here, I'm keeping myself safe and others safe, and I've just been trying to be a bit not positive. I don't like saying it. I'm just trying to be positive, but just like building resources together, like on my Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, like some well-being resources and tips on working from home and setting boundaries, because I think we know what's going on. I don't know, I just want to try and have different conversations about it, just like this, actually. So, yeah, just finding time and space for that.
It kind of throws into focus some of the things that we actually kind of go out and do or have convinced ourselves that we need to do. And some of them, it's like, well, actually, you know, I need to pay attention to this and really focus on myself in this difficult time. But then some of it is also like, well, actually, why can't it be like that the rest of the time? Why does it take a pandemic to be able to make certain of the, you know, changes that might be considered quite socialist, in fact?
I think it's because the human race as a rule are pretty... I mean, once we get into a routine that's comfortable, we sort of stay there. Like, you see that with people who stay in jobs, like terrible jobs, far longer than they would need to. And I speak from experience because I did 8 years in a job that was not right for me. Like, some people, it was very, very exciting. But for me, it was not. But I stayed there because I was getting fed, I had a place to sleep, and I had a place to do a wee, and that was it, you know? So I think it can sometimes take a big shock to reevaluate things. Like, because when I got made redundant from that job, suddenly I turned around one morning and said, I'm going to try and be a journalist. And the next thing I knew, I was in the New Statesman, I was working at Pink News, and boom, boom, boom. And that would never have happened if I hadn't have lost that job. I'd probably still be there. So I think, and I can't think it's just me like that. Because, I mean, you look at pandemics throughout history, there's always been massive, massive societal changes afterwards. Every single one.
There's like the really great thing that's happened, because I mean, I'm to do something like, you know, self-employed work, and the fact that crossing my fingers that the government are going to do something, and it feels like now actually they're just waking up to the fact that there's like no protection for self-employed people, and actually, yeah, they do need to do something about that. Like, positive about that is that finally they've done like sick pay for self-employed people, and now they're hopefully going to give us some money to live on during this when they've closed all our theatres. So it's like, that is defo positive in it.
It's thrown a real spotlight on things like 0 hours working as well, you know, which we all knew was a crock of shit, but, you know, employers love doing it because it helped them, despite the fact it did nothing for the workers. And now so many people have lost their jobs to this, and it's really thrown a spotlight on, well, actually, should we really have 0 hours in the UK? And should we not have more protections for workers?
I think those conversations are going to have to happen, but like this moves nicely into something I did want to ask, because I have very mixed feelings about this. Because I think if any of you know me, I don't keep quiet about my political opinions. In fact, in some respects, when I do the What the Trans Twitter account, I sometimes find myself treating it like a personal account in a lot of ways, just because I don't have that filter. If I feel something, I say it. I don't know whether that's due to ADHD or due to my personality anyway. I don't know. But I keep seeing political discourse, and I keep thinking, now isn't the time for this. Like, what do you think? Because I see people who are always trying to take chunks out of the Conservatives, and I am very down with that. And I'm very, very, very down.
Like, dude, I'm sat right here.
And I am very, very into the idea that after this is all over, I'm going to personally spend the rest of my life making sure that Boris Johnson pays for what he has done, or what he didn't do in this case. Because I have decided that is going to be my life after this, to make sure nobody ever forgets that the reason this got so bad, or as bad as it's going to get, is because he listened to a far-right beanie-wearing asshole instead of the World Health Organization. But I keep seeing some people continuing to do on social media, still playing the role as the voice to a political ideology, and I'm thinking that has a place like once this wave is done. But right now, I think the focus should be on trying to save as many lives as we can, on trying to help each other. Like, what do you think? Is there room for political activism right now? Am I being wrong?
Okay, so it's really complicated, and I'm not sure there is a right and wrong for a start. If we're going to start talking about rights and wrongs, you could argue that, you know, the wrongs that this government has committed mean that they should be subject to criticism and scrutiny at all times, which for me, I think all governments should, because, you know, it's what keeps them honest. And that's kind of the problem that we've been having here, in that the people and the press of this country have failed over the last God knows how many years in holding politicians to account. But that's a whole other thing. Let me come back to that.
I would very much welcome a diversity of views here, because I honestly don't know what to think. I could be totally wrong, and I am totally fine with that.
I think one thing I wanted to just flag up was that there have been people saying, oh, well, it's a pandemic, now's a perfect time to do a rent strike, for example. And you and I have talked about this, Michelle, and it's like, well, that might not be the way, actually, because a lot of people who rent are doing so quite precariously. They might be self-employed and have been affected by this. They might be on a 0 hours contract and not getting any hours at the moment. So if those people were to then say, oh, well, actually, I'm going on rent strike, and, the landlord evicts them in the middle of a pandemic, that's going to be not good. So it's kind of about, to me, it's about finding that balance between, yes, holding powers to account, but also being practical and, as you say, Michelle, looking after the greatest number of people. Ideally everyone, really. That's what's supposed to happen, isn't it? But yes, diversity of opinion, I'll shut up now.
I think if you look at people's actions going on, like we said about the toilet roll earlier, one person load up their trolley full of toilet roll because there's a crisis, and not thinking about everyone else that's involved in this crisis, because it affects absolutely everyone. And you've got people in Canada who are already doing the rent strike, and they're calling for it to be a global thing. And I can completely get what you're saying there, but also you've got to remember that not everybody out there who's a landlord is going to be, Joe Bloggs with 15 properties that's up to his eyeballs in money. They are also going through the shit as well. And they might have relatives who are affected by this, or it may be affecting them personally. And, it's one thing throwing a spanner in the works when the cogs, when the machine's working perfectly, but when everything's already falling apart, and you personally make it your mission to make things worse, it's not helping the collective. I think Michelle nailed it in our last pod when she said, GRA reform, the fact that that's been shelved permanently is utter shit, but we need to be focusing on building communities and being effective members in those communities, so that when it is our time to make that fight, we can actually have some allies on our side that perhaps we wouldn't have had before.
No, I really agree with that. I'm in a really interesting position in that the landlord that I currently rent off, the letting agency that I currently rent off, my stepdad also has property with them. So not my same property, but he's the landlord of a different property. Does that make sense? So we collectively, as a flat, sent them an email being like, hey, we'd really appreciate some kind of help, because we're all freelance and none of us got jobs at the moment, and it's a pain. But then it's been funny coming home and hearing it from the other side, obviously, when my stepdad's like, you know what, I've got a property and I don't know, they're worried about then their tenants paying, and it's it's almost a flip side of it that I think's made me feel more understanding, I guess, because I think before it was a bit like, I'll sod it, they're probably, because I know our landlord lives in Florida, and I was like, oh, he's probably in Florida in a beautiful house, and he can give us money, he can pay our rent, he'll be fine with the mortgage. And then I've seen it from the other side and been like, no, actually, this isn't the time. There will be a time, this is not the time. I just want to keep my flat.
Yeah, you just want to have somewhere safe to live, don't you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Sabah, what do you think?
I don't think I have too much to add, but I really like what you said, Ashley, about there not being a good or a bad, and it just made me think that we all just are in this position where we can make decisions, we're making choices, and I can't remember who said it, but talking about pandemics before, and it just creating change or something, and I just feel like we have to be open to change and making decisions. And I think also thinking about where those decisions come from, is it from a place of fear and scarcity, like, buying all the toilet rolls and stockpiling and I don't know, just can we make decisions from places of like care and compassion and understanding. But yeah, that's all I'm thinking about really. And it's so different for everyone as well, like it's personal.
No, and there is no clear answer, is there? It's like, you can have an ongoing discussion in this situation, which is obviously that's kind of what we're doing right now, and still not come upon a clear answer for the kind of, this is very complicated, and some of it's kind of morally a bit like, well, my principle says this about landlords and corporations, but actually, X, Y, and Z thing is happening, which makes me feel differently and whatever. However, I wonder if it's time for a little more music.
Yeah, let's have a song. So this is a band called Haver. They are Scottish. It's spelled Havr, but it is pronounced Haver, they tell me. It's led by a trans woman called Carrie Marshall, she, her. You can find her on Bandcamp, and they have a website which will be linked in the description. And this is from their EP, Some People Are Inconvenient. I think that's something we can all relate to in some way. Maybe. And this is the song Safe Space.
Everything's too much. Days just grind and crush. You and me, we've got a place. Shelter it and feel safe. I'll meet you there. I hug you too tight. I'm holding on for dear life. Now with you, there's no pretense. Need to go where it all makes sense. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there.
impressed by the talent in our community. Like the last time we did the music show, every song was great, every single one. And this time it was very much the same. It was very, very hard to pick. So thank you to all the people who sent us songs that we couldn't play. It isn't a sign of quality or anything like that. It's just we picked these songs entirely because they fit the tone of what we're trying to do in the show. But yeah, at some point we're probably going to do a whole other bunch of music stuff, I think, in the future on this. So keep sending them in.
I'd be a bit miffed if we didn't, considering I'm in 2 bands now, you know? It's like, I've got to have some opportunities to plug them during a pandemic, right? Like, because we
will get St. Lucifer on, Ashley. I promise you that is going to happen because I love St. Lucifer so much.
Yeah, so do I. It's awesome
and
fun.
Dead Pig Soul. I love them both.
But so that's the thing. I was down to have a couple of gigs over the last couple of weeks. So one last Friday on the 20th and another one on this Friday the 27th, I think, which was supposed to have been in Birmingham, and they're obviously now both cancelled, which is really annoying. But also, we've not been able to get together to rehearse because one or more of us have been ill. And in fact, Amy, who's a member of the band who works in the NHS, actually started showing symptoms of COVID at one point. It may not have been because it seems to have resolved itself quite quickly. So there is a cold going around. I had a bit of a cold myself last week. Literally the mildest cold I've had in years. It was like 2 days and gone. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But can't be too careful.
Isn't it? Because it's around this time where like everyone gets colds. And like Laura was saying yesterday, she was like, do you think you've had like COVID? And I was like, I don't know, because I had a vague flu about a month back, but it could have just been a vague flu because it's like January and everyone gets sick around this time.
There is some conspiracy theories going around that COVID actually landed in December and that's a lot of people who got like norovirus and usual seasonal flu are just like, oh, I had it then. Oh, it's all fine. And then they're using it to justify going out. I just want to put that out there.
Oh, I see.
That is not true. That is not true at all. It may have been here from late January, but it's not. It wasn't that. It wasn't you being a bit sick at Christmas. This is something else. So don't...
You just drank too much, Auntie Sandra. That's why you were ill at Christmas.
The amount of tripe on Facebook, like people going, oh yeah, well if you hold your breath for this amount of seconds, and then the government immediately goes, don't do that. That's not going to help. And then have people going, oh, well, if you drink hot drinks every 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, if hot drinks cured COVID, the UK would be fine. You know, we drink a lot of tea as a nation.
Pop the kettle on.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
But that would also suggest so they don't drink tea in China of any kind, like, you know, kind of probably would have
nipped on the planet drinks hot drinks apart from us.
Yeah, quite, like, you know.
Yeah, I got that. I got like a very strange voice message of someone I met in an ADHD group on Facebook, and they forwarded it on to me, and I think it's like a chain thing, because it sounds like someone has recorded like in a bunker a safety announcement on how to avoid getting the virus, and it's got some really bizarre ideas in there. Like, literally, if you think you've been exposed to the virus, drink water, because that will flush the virus into your stomach, and the virus will be dissolved by your stomach acid. And I've been told by my flatmate that is not how this works.
It's gargled with like hot water and vinegar as well, and I'm like, who's coming up with this?
Today I saw suggested like bicarbonate soda and like lemon, and I was like, that's how you declog a sink.
But if you declog a sink, you can declog me.
Really? Good enough for the sink, but good enough for a pandemic.
The only advice I've heard from a source that I trust is from my flatmate, who is a final year medical student who may be starting to become a doctor far quicker than they thought they would. And they said, for the fever, take paracetamol if you've got any, try and keep the fever down, drink lots of water and rest.
Yes.
That is it. That is what you can do if you get COVID-19. Yeah. And go to the hospital if you have significant trouble breathing. That's the plan. Anything else you hear, except from an actual source who knows what they're talking about, disregard immediately, unless it comes from the NHS or the government. Because otherwise you're going to think you're fine, and you're not. You're just not. And people are spreading around all sorts of shit. And That's going to get people killed, that stuff. It really is.
I tell you what got my goat is just before like lockdown, like a local cafe that, we used to be quite good friends with this cafe, and they immediately started selling like ginger shots, and they were like, oh, as we all know, ginger cures rhinovirus, which is the common cold. So with all this going around, you should have some ginger shots. And normally I hold back on things like Facebook and Twitter because I try and remain professional, despite the fact that I've been swearing like a sailor on this. And and I just lost it. I was like, I cannot believe you're being so irresponsible as to play on people's fears just so you can sell your shitty drinks. And I lost my mind. I couldn't believe that someone would, well, actually I can believe it because, that's the way that these things work, as people try and sell on whatever they can. But I just thought you sack of shit. I can't believe you're doing that.
Yay, capitalism, groovy, yeah.
Yeah.
So before we play our final song and then put an end to this part of the show, I want to ask about mental health, because I have talked a lot about my struggles with mental health on this show and gone into way more detail than I think a lot of people would to the general public. And I see no reason on stopping. So I'm going to say, last week I had a proper relapse and it was really bad. I found myself in my kitchen with no memory of how I got there. And I don't know how long I've been standing there for. And I can't really tell you exactly what happened last week, except that it was like I was back in 2017 when I went into that, when things were really bad. So I called my GP and they put me on the old cocktail of brain drugs I was on a couple of years ago, and they've done the trick. But it got really scary for a while for me. I mean, in a way, it's a sign that my brain's still working. Because if it wasn't freaking out like that, I think there would have been something wrong. If you know what I mean.
Indeed.
But how have you lot been? Has there been? How have you kept your mental health in check?
I have dealt with mental health stuff in the past. In spite of this, I do like to think of myself as someone with a certain amount of mental fortitude, and then something comes along and it's like, oh, actually, no, maybe not. But that's okay. Every day's a school day. And I think the kind of isolation element hasn't been affecting me to the extent that it was like last September when I first kind of finished the contract in the job I was in and kind of ended up at home all the time, because it kind of drove me mad then. But what I'm having problems with now is the uncertainty. Because I'm staying in contact with all my friends. And just to say, actually, I've started like arranging to do like a roleplay game over Discord with Roll20 and all that sort of nerdy stuff, which I'm jolly excited about doing. What I'm doing a lot is distracting myself. So I'm reading a lot, and sometimes I'm rereading stuff that I've already read, and sometimes it's I'll read that new book about witchcraft I downloaded that I haven't looked at yet or whatever, and then I'll do a lot of baking, and I'll play bass, and I'll play video games, and blah blah blah. But none of it's really, it's all just kind of passing time, and I'm deliberately not thinking about that big uncertain void which is the future and all of the things that it could contain, because I think, well, I'll drive myself mad thinking about that, because anything could happen, and that's the part that I'm struggling with more. I can
confirm it does drive you mad. That was what exactly led me down the hole, because I was trying to get as much info as possible, and I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, and boom, I did it to myself. So
I did tell you, I've seen this before. Michelle, please back off, drink some water, get some sleep, please, for me. But it's all good, we're fine. So yeah, even though it's obviously some days are better than others, I think, and I don't know if that's true for the rest of yous. So
I mean, it's all been peaks and troughs, really. It's hard when you're one of the people who are supporting others. People reach out to you all the time, and you've got to be that rock. And we all need to take some space and some time for ourselves. And I have done a lot of inward retreating. There's been daytime naps galore recently, but
yeah.
But I think for me, it was the real tipping point was. Like I said, I've not not seen my son in 2 weeks because we isolated or self-isolated for 7 days, and during that time, racist and liar Boris Johnson then announced it was 14 days. You've got to use the proper title, I'm told, on this show. So, he announced it was 14 days, and then lockdown happened. And he mentioned nothing during that, nothing about co-parenting. So I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep. I couldn't get hold of my ex, and I was unraveling because and normally I wouldn't put anything personal on my Twitter or my Facebook, and I try and keep things as professional as possible, and I was losing it, and there's been a whole lot of tears, and I'm very fortunate that I'm with my partner. Amy's in the house, and we're kind of keeping each other sane. We're playing games and watching a lot of Sons of Anarchy, something we'd never watched before. So we've ploughed through that like troopers. But it's a difficult one because like I said, we've not really been the most social of people outside of running a social group, but when suddenly you can't go outside, you're isolated from others. It's things like I was doing the 3 meals a day, and most of it was pretty healthy. I'm having 3 meals a day, but most of it's chocolate, and
I think that's okay at times like this, Kate. I really do.
Yeah, that'd be fine. But considering I just picked up some new heart medication today, I'm probably not the best course of action.
Swings and roundabouts.
It's a tough time for all, I think, at the moment. There are some really desperate people out there, and I think there's a lot of pressure on people to be a community hub and to look after each other, and that as a spirit is amazing, and it's lovely to see the amount of leaflets that have been dropped round and all the groups that are popping up is so heartwarming. But also when you look at the fact that people are being pressured to do videos and to get involved in these things when normally they probably wouldn't leave the house for 3 weeks anyway, and they're carrying that guilt, and we don't need to be putting that guilt on people. We just need to remind people that it's okay if you're by yourself and you're fine. I'm just checking in, making sure you are okay, and leave it at that.
Pretty much.
Ica, how you been holding up?
A mixture, definitely. Like, I don't know, definitely saying like it's been a roller coaster, as I think it has been for like everyone. I think often I definitely rely on other people for my mental health to be like good. So my housemates got me through quite a rough time, like just before this whole world thing kind of kicked off. So I think then I was seeing, going back home and mum and stuff as kind of like a restart in a weird way, and being like almost forced to do it was kind of a good thing. But now I've got like the other side of it, where actually the idea of all this ending and going back to London and doing that restart is now oddly scary. It's almost like I'm going to learn how to deal with myself now, but once when it goes back to normal, like, will I be able to do it then? It's such an odd, like, now I've gotten into these routines, I know what I'm doing every day, and vague things, but then that will completely flip once I go back. So yeah, it's an interesting one, I think.
I know what you mean, sort of re-examining what your life was going to be.
I think that's it. I think that's what a lot of people are saying at the moment, which moves with what you were saying as well. It's like that kind of like feeling like you have to be like somehow reforming yourself, or you have to be, filling your time with these like epic projects and things. And actually just, sitting down and having a non-day without any guilt is good. Like, and probably the best thing you can do at the moment. Like, just getting through a day, having a bit of lunch, seeing my cat feels like an achievement, and it probably is.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I decided for my own sake, what the trans business, Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, my time.
Yep.
I've drawn a line. So if you happen to be on the Discord, listeners, and you want to talk to me over the weekend, you can. Although this Saturday I am doing a gaming day, which I'll be streaming, but that's basically what I'd be doing anyway, just with a stream on. So it's just basically my holiday is what I'm going to be doing anyway. So yeah, check that out. If you listen to this on Friday, tomorrow to you, I'll be on Twitch. Go join the Discord and we'll sort it out. Sabah, because you were in a unique spot because you already had a major life-changing tragedy before this kicked off, and I'm so sorry to hear about your loss.
Yeah, it's just really, really strange. Like I was caring for my dad. We were living together, and now I'm in this house, and he's not there, and I was, grieving on a very personal level, and everything was changed. Everything was different, and now everything's like different again, and everyone it's like a collective global grieving and mourning and death. It just feels like death is really everywhere, which is really hard to be alone, to kind of be in silent moments in the house, and then also just not really, just feeling really aimless, and so it's not been easy. I think I am okay. And like I know this is just a part of my emotional journey. I haven't answered the question "How are you?" for a long time, because it's just it feels too much, and I don't really know. But that's also okay for me. The hardest part is a lot of my support and what I really benefit from is face-to-face kind of physical presence of like people, like my friends, my loved ones, like my therapist, and that's been really hard to just not have that kind of loss, to not have that, and have to practice being vulnerable and through screens and telephone calls, which us millennials we don't do. So, but it's I'm just kind of, I feel like I'm just moving like a liquid. I'm just, whatever's going on, I'll just move to it. But the one thing I've been thinking about is how I think, especially as like trans people, our community is so good at solidarity and care, and that stuff we've had to do for so long, and I feel like amongst me and my friends, like we haven't had to try that hard to pull together because we already do.
Yeah.
And that's been like amazing. And also the quality meme content coming out as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's really warming. Like I feel heartbroken, but also my heart is like full and warm, and that's really, I think, the best I could hope for. I'm just making sure I'm finding time to laugh.
I don't think we could have asked for a better sign-off to this bit of the show.
Honestly, no. Thank you for that.
Yeah, when we're putting together podcasts,
thanks.
That's the kind of thing that gets said, and me and Ashley just going, "Yeah, this is brilliant. This is the perfect part to cut to the last song."
So,
thank you all for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for your honesty and humour and compassion in this trying time. And so, yes, again, thank you for joining us. And where can people find you online?
So for me, my personal Twitter is Mumpty Dumpty, as it sounds, and my group is Trans Gloucester, so we're Gloucester Trans on Twitter and in Trans Gloss on Facebook. It might be the other way around, but you'll find it, I'm sure. But we will ask Michelle to include some links. But we've also got a private group as well, which there will be links if you go to either of those.
So I am at Queer Zebra on the old Instagrams and the Twitters, although I'm more spoiled at Twitter, so probably the Instagram. And then the collective that me and my friends set up is _isolation_collective, because we're back in the 2000s and underscores are a great thing.
And Sabah?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me by, though. This has been like just absolutely perfect
Good.
for my week.
Good.
So I am on Facebook and Twitter, Sabah Choudrey. That's SabahChoudrey, and on Instagram at sabah.c, or you can just go to my website, sabahchoudrey.com.
Thanks to all of you for joining us and pulling together. Maybe we should call the episode that. I don't know. But
we've discovered that you are far better at naming episodes than I am. Mine's usually what I end up shouting at some point in the show, and that doesn't always get the most downloads, it turns out.
I feel like they've definitely pulled together. I feel significantly pulled.
Yeah, good stuff. And also, this is episode 42, so I couldn't let the occasion pass without saying don't panic. So
it's weird how that turned out.
I know, right? Anyway, so we have one final song to play for you.
Yeah, this is a song from Cortland Louise. No capitals in that name. They, them. They are based in New Jersey, USA. You can get them on Bandcamp, link in the description. And this is from their EP Excuses, and this song is called All I Do.
I'm packing up my bags and leaving town. I wanna find a place where I won't see your face around. Maybe Denver or Tennessee. Maybe I'll find someone who won't make me wanna leave. Change my sheets and go to bed. Try to scrape off the bad feelings that linger in my head. Close my eyes and count to 10, and hope that next time this won't happen again. All I do is dream of what I don't have. Floating down a stream, trying to pick from two halves of a life I once had. I'm making up my own mind for the first time in my life. I know what I want, and I know that it's more than just a wife. I'm trying to take care of what the world wants from me, but not before I can take care of me. All I do is scream, but I still cannot hear. I'm afraid to fall and upset all the gears that spin my whole life. What I say I want is alone time, but not as much as I give myself. I really just wanna be with someone, but not someone I'd put on a shelf. Hold on. Hold on. 'Cause I guess we made it here alone.
So that was a cool conversation. That I think I needed that.
Yes, absolutely. And that was the substance of the conversation that we briefly had after we'd stopped recording, wasn't it? Actually, that was just a really nice conversation to have. So actually, it turns out that group chats on Skype when you've been stuck at home for a while, it's actually kind of good for the soul. You don't even have to talk about anything in particular. But yes, I'm really glad we did that. And I hope, listener, that has put a smile on your face and, you know, given you pause for thought and all that kind of thing. We just wanted it to be something nice and wholesome and helpful in these trying times.
Yeah, and that's the episode. So just to remind you from up at the top, we have a Discord. If you are feeling lonely and isolated at this time, please check the link in the description. Also, volunteer for the NHS. Even though the NHS is in trouble, and it is because of the Conservatives that it is, we are able to help. So check the link in the description and sign up to help a volunteer. There is also a whole bunch of other phone numbers and information to help you through this trying time from many different organisations, including the Samaritans, Stonewall, the LGBT Foundation, and a few more. So if you are in any kind of trouble, there is community out there for you.
Indeed. And if you're interested in us in particular, as mentioned, we have the Discord, but where you can also find us on the social medias. We are, of course, on Twitter at What the Trans. We're on Facebook /WhatTheTrans. We have a shiny website, which is whatthetrans.com. On the website as well, you'll find a link to our Patreon, which actually some very, very, very kind people have recently been donating to, and they are Alexandra Lilly,
Anthony Pina,
April Heller,
Becky Scott Fairley,
Bernard's Pink Jelly Bean.
You love saying that one, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Cassius Adair,
Chris Hubley,
Claire Scott,
Elliot McVeigh,
Ian Coomber,
Karakan 12,
Catherine,
Laker,
Lauren O'Nions,
Lanus,
Maddie Bell,
Matt Reynolds,
Melissa Brooks,
Mina,
Molly,
Owen Willis,
and Sophie Lewis. Thank you so much to our patrons. If you are interested in throwing some cash our way, go to patreon.com/whatthetrans.
And so to end the show, we have something a little bit different, a little bit special. Rather than the usual kind of we'll say goodbye and then the music kicks in, we've got someone else's music. Friend of the show and actually, really, really all-round decent human being, Husk, has actually provided a slightly different, slightly more acoustic version of their latest single for us. And they've actually sent over a lovely message to the community for all of us to hear. So we'll play that and then we'll play the song and that'll be the end of the show. So it's goodbye from the pair of us. Thank you so much for tuning in and take it away, Husk.
Hi everyone, it's Husk here. I am doing an acoustic piano version of my new single Below the Neck, which will be out on April the 3rd. If you want to find that, if you search Husk Noise, then you'll see my face. I'm sure you will. It's also supported by Superbia of Manchester Pride, which are like a really cool artsy organisation, kind of the arts wing of Manchester Pride. So that's a really cool element. Being supported as a trans artist by kind of a big pride like that is it's good. I hope you all like it and I hope you're all staying safe.
Below the neck, high functioning, gold pants spear, hot times. Below the neck, I'm still laughing, I know it comforting, hot times. So I know my soul is gross, but still I roll into my ghost. I see myself above, still capable. Hello, I say, please don't, but you let me go. Below the neck, I'm high functioning, going pet spear, hot times. Below the neck, I'm still laughing, I know it comforting, hot times. Below the neck, I'm high functioning, going pet spear, hot times. Below the neck, I'm still laughing, I know it comforting, hot times. I have no home, no, I have no home. 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 Below the neck, high functioning, going pet smear, hot times. Below the neck, I'm still laughing, I know it comforting, hot time. Below the neck, high functioning, gold pants spear, hot
lines below the neck. I'm still